Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of Jordan and Drew, the Sports Crew, the cross country special. And we got three guests coming on today to talk about a sport that really isn't well covered. And we want to change that here in Jordan and Drew, the Sports Crew. So we got Valders cross country. We're going to highlight here the boys and the girls. They're coming off a successful state appearance for both sides. And we got three guests coming on, like I said, Shane Griepentrog, a senior at Valders, Clay Taylor, a senior at Valders as well, and then Hannah Welch, a freshman at Valders. And we'll get right into it here. We got Shane on the air right now. And Shane, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Drew. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And Shane, you came off an impressive race October 30th, and the race in general, it was exactly what you guys wanted. I mean, with you finishing first with a dominant 15:38, and then him finishing second with 16:14. Just what was going through your mind as you crossed the finish line that day?
Oh yeah, coming through the finish line, I was definitely just exhilarated with becoming the state champion. But I think most of my happiness came when I turned around and I saw Clay in second place, and he crossed the line, become the state runner-up. It's been a goal of ours to be 1 and 2 at state for pretty much our whole careers running together, and it was just an amazing day, becoming team state champions, watching the girls become state runner-ups. It was just an amazing, amazing day.
Yeah, it really was. I was there. I got to witness it. Great day, great race to be at, indeed. And so which cross-country state run was your favorite? Does that have to be this one?
Oh, yeah, it definitely has to be this one, but it doesn't take it away from any of the other ones. Last year was pretty bad, but definitely freshman and sophomore year were still very fun times. But, yeah, this one definitely takes the cake.
Yeah, with last year leaving that sour taste in your mouth, let's say, and just coming back this year and just knowing work needs to be done. And you guys definitely accomplished what you wanted to, which was great. And then let's talk about some goals. So was there any like individual or like team goals that you want to talk about that were set before the year, and like how were they accomplished, and just overall, just looking back, how did it go?
Yeah, so coming into the year off of a pretty successful track season, I'd say. I definitely wanted to become the state champion. I know Clay at the last interview with Brian Thompson before the cross country season is he wanted to go 1 and 2 together. So obviously we completed both of those tasks. And then, like you said before, that sour taste that we had after state last year, kind of lit a fire under our butts. We definitely want to come out this year and win the state championship again as a team. And definitely what went into that, I think, is just the team spirit this year. Last year, we didn't really communicate well as a team. We didn't have that good team bonding, but this year everyone kind of bought into the progress, and we just melded together very well, and it set up for a successful season.
Yeah, I'm sure with last year, I mean, it was probably tough with COVID. I mean, we were out of school for a couple of weeks and stuff, and now this year coming back, I mean, how have you noticed with COVID coming back, or with COVID, I mean, not interrupting school so far this year, just how that's really helped the team bonding?
Yeah, for sure. Last year, there was definitely some times where had questions up in the air if some people were not going to be running, if we as a team were not going to be running. So it definitely made for some easier, like, pre-meet days and just less stress overall. And it just made for a smoother season and a more fun season in general. And I always like to think if you have a better attitude, you're going to be more successful. So that definitely helped this year, not having to worry about certain stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And then just talking some training, like what's been the off-season training for you look like? I mean, especially over like in the pandemic, like what were you doing?
Yeah, in the pandemic, I had a lot of time. Obviously, we all did to do whatever. So me and Nate and Trevor Wenzel every day would go out to the track or out on the roads and do a run. So we did that for the majority of the spring season last year. And then into the summer, we had a very long summer to train. So as a team, we collectively did runs together and then on our own. But yeah, just staying consistent was the most important part. And just getting out and running every day is the most important part, I think.
Yeah, those are definitely some great guys to run with. I mean, both those guys here at UW Milwaukee with myself. So that's a plus there. And
yes,
then
it is.
One thing I want to talk about with you especially is the strength training that you put in the off season. That was something that really opened my eyes, and just want to know, like, what programs were you looking at, and like kind of what opened your eyes to strength training?
Yeah, strength training, I believe, is a huge part of what helped me make such a jump in performance this senior year and end of junior year. Last junior year, I made the decision in between like basketball and track is to go to the weight room 2 to 3 times a week in the morning. It was always open. So I was always getting in there. I know it's very good for injury prevention. It's very good for just strength, endurance in general. And I just believe if you want to be the best you can be, you have to be a well-rounded athlete in general. You can't just do one specific thing. And lifting weights for me just builds strength. It builds endurance. And I just feel like an overall better athlete to be able to perform at my peak.
Definitely. It's great you're taking advantage of it now, because like these college programs, they really like to implement that strength training. And I don't know if maybe with your brother Nate being at Milwaukee, if there's some influence there, but it's really great you started early with that.
Yeah, for sure. Nate definitely. I always asked him what lift should I do today, or what type of exercises should I do today, and he always provided me with some very good tips and exercises to give me. So definitely, my brother Nate helped me out there as well.
Awesome. And I got a tough question for you now. Probably not a tough question, but just a fun question is, how would you describe your relationship with Clay Taylor?
Oh, me and Clay's relationship is we're like brothers at this point. We've shared so many different things with each other. We know each other in and out, and it's pretty much an unbreakable bond through running, through school, through just fooling around. We know each other so well, and we just have a great bond that teammates need to have if they want to be successful.
Yeah, especially with 1 and 2, and you guys just pushing each other all like for the last 6 years, because it's been since 7th grade, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
That's awesome right there. And what advice? Here's a good one. What advice would you give 7th grade Shane in running? Because didn't you do football for the first 2 years? So
yes, I did. I did football in 5th and 6th.
So 7th grade Shane, what advice would you give him now that your high school career is over in running? What is it?
So I've been thinking about stuff like this for a while, but the thing that always comes back is, like I said before, is consistency. If you really want to be good at something and you really want to go out and perform at your best, you need to stay consistent to the progress, to the work, and you have to go out there every day to get better every day. You can't stay inside one day and expect to get better. You have to go out and do the work every day, get that 1% better every single day.
And that's some great advice, not just for 7th grade, Shane. I think for everyone. I think that's an excellent piece of advice there. And is there a special coach or teammate you want to shout out? Anyone to give some love to we haven't talked about?
I would like to give a shout out to my brother Nate. I did talk about it a little bit before, but yeah, he helps me with everything from running plans he sets up for me to just basic knowledge of the sport. He just offered me so much. Along with that is Trevor Wenzel, just because Nate's learned so much from him as well. Just the two of them combined have given me so much opportunity for me to grow as a person and as a runner.
Good stuff there. And then Shane, what's next? I mean, you got some big college offers, and let's hear about it. What's that been like with recruiting?
Yeah, so I like to take it a little slow. So I have been getting some calls or whatever from coaches, but I told them I'll wait to do some visits till after the cross country season has completed. Last weekend, I took a visit to the University of Minnesota, and now in a couple weeks, I'll be taking one to the University of UW-Madison. Those are pretty much, you could say, my final two. So I'll definitely be going to one or the other. Just to be able to run in the Big Ten conference is just like a dream of mine since I've been little. And just the opportunity that both colleges provide academically and athletically is just amazing. So that's where I'm probably going to progress with my next 4 years.
Awesome. And I mean, when you're the best runner in the state, I'm glad you've been able to have that opportunity, Shane. And can we talk a little bit about academics? Do you have any plan about like what you want to major in right now?
Yeah. So I want to pursue a major in nutritional science to become a dietitian one day, hopefully a sports dietitian, working with maybe even college teams or even maybe bigger high schools or just personal athletes in general. But yeah, I love how you can work with food and supplements to become the best athlete or the best just feeling to be an overall better person.
That's great to hear, Shane. And anything else? I mean, do you want to shout yourself out?
No, I want. I just want to say thank you to you guys and for having me on this podcast. And yeah, it's been a great talk so far. So thank you.
Of course. And with that being said, let's move into our next interview with Clay Taylor. The cross country special resumes on the podcast with our second guest, Clay Taylor, the Bucks believer. We usually have him on to talk basketball, but today we're talking cross country. And Clay, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Can't wait to talk about my other favorite sport with you for the first time on the pod. Going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's crazy how this has been our first time talking cross country on the podcast with you, and just cross country in general. We mentioned it in Shane's interview. It's just really a sport that's not covered a lot, and we're trying to change that here at Jordon Drew the Sports Crew. And this is a perfect opportunity with Valders. I mean, we talked about in Shane's already with the state run that they've made the last 4 years, and now with the girls as well making a state run this year. It's just so exciting. And Clay, that gets me right into my first question here. I mean, which cross country state run was your favorite, and I mean, why?
It would have to be this year, both because it was my senior year. So, it's our last run. It's our last chance to get another banner in the gym, and luckily we were able to do so. But also because last year we took fourth, and so this was the first time I had that kind of heartbreak at state. So to be able to come back from that and then get back on the top of the podium this year, and to also have the individual success that Shane and I had finishing first and second was just really special. So I would definitely say that this year was the best run.
Yeah, you could really tell. I mean, last year that fourth place finish leaving a sour taste in your guys' mouth. You knew there was work that had to be done. And like you mentioned, Shane and Clay, you 1 and 2, and then Shane with that impressive 15:38 time, almost breaking the D3 state record for a run at state, and then yourself running a 16:14, finishing second, and beating Dan Anderson from McDonald Central Catholic by 1.3 seconds, and that was a really impressive run for you too, Clay. I mean, of course, you finishing second at state, and it was just looking back at it. I mean, your goals that you set before the season, just is this kind of how you guys wanted it to play out? I mean, going 1 and 2 with Shane at state.
Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted. Going into state, we really had 3 primary goals: Shane winning, me taking second, and our team winning. And as we went through the race, Shane finished first. So there's check number 1. I came in behind him. There's check number 2. And then we had to wait a little while to get the team results. But when they did put it up there, obviously we ended up taking the dub. So we were able to accomplish all 3 of our main goals. And yeah, that was just a perfect day, that state day. One I'll never forget for sure.
It really was. I had to make the trip to Wisconsin Rapids to see it. I didn't tell Clay, by the way. I surprised him at state. I thought it would be the perfect way to do it for your last race. And you're right. It was really a historic day, and I'm glad I was able to make it. And just let's talk about like motivation here, Clay. Like what would you say motivates you the most when you run, especially like at the state race? Is it yourself? Is there a special teammate, or like what motivates you?
There's a ton of motivating factors. I guess to list a few of them, obviously you want to do well for your school to show off what Valders is capable of. You want to do well for your teammates and coaches, and even beyond just the cross country team. Going into it, I was thinking about the volleyball team and the football team a little bit, and thinking about how hard they worked in their seasons and that they were done. So this was Valders fall sports last chance to really make a mark. So I left it all out there for everyone, but above everything, I wanted to do it for myself. I've always set pretty lofty goals for myself in cross country, and up until this year, I had never really been able to achieve them on an individual basis. Obviously, my freshman and sophomore years, we won state, so that was a big goal of mine, but I had never been able to live up to my own expectations at the state meet. And this year, my ultimate goal was to finish first and second with Shane. So just going into the race, I wanted to do it to prove to myself that I was capable of it, and to, as I'm sure Shane will talk about before, to justify all the hard work that I put into it.
Yeah, awesome. And hey, I mean, you talked about individual success. You made the second team all-state team in cross country this year. Last year, you were an honorable mention. So I mean, the success was really there for you. You made it from junior to senior, honorable mention to second team. That just shows like that work you were talking about, just putting it in. And yeah, let's talk about Shane. Like, how would you describe your relationship with Shane Griepentrog? Kind of like the duo, you know?
Shane and I have been through a lot ever since he joined cross country for the first time in 7th grade. For a few years, we were really back and forth. Just each meet, it would be kind of different in terms of who would be coming out on top. And that was really a lot of fun because I could just work out with Shane every day in practice the whole week. And then I'd scheme up some kind of race plan to try and beat him in the meet. And eventually that ended up fading a little bit. The last 2 years, I've only beat him once, but it's still been just a huge pleasure to train alongside him. I know that he's made me better and that I wouldn't have been able to reach this point without having someone who is the best guy in the whole state pushing me at practice every single day. And to have it be someone like Shane, who's just a good and caring friend, someone who's a 10 out of 10 human being, is pretty spectacular. And yeah, it's a relationship that I'll never replicate. I'll never have anyone else who means to me what Shane means to me, just because of all the trials of miles that we've been through together.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a friendship that's definitely will last forever. And I'm really glad to hear that about, you and Shane, and just talk about like the training with like you talk about with Shane running those trials and stuff. What's kind of like a typical week can we expect like in the off season from you guys as a team in whole?
So in the off season, we're really focused on getting base miles in. So it's not a whole lot of speedy stuff. It's mostly just, slower miles just to get a strong aerobic base for once we get into the season and start building our anaerobic stuff. So in a regular week in the summer, we'll probably hit somewhere between, if it's the beginning of the summer, maybe like 35 miles where we're running 5 days a week. And towards the end of the summer, we start building closer to 55 or 60 miles a week where we're running 6 or 7 days. So it kind of depends on what stage of the off season we're in. But by the end, it's every single day you're putting in between an hour and an hour and a half into running. And then at the same time, we're always doing exercises regarding our core and our glutes and just trying to strengthen all the muscle areas that are important for running. So that's kind of what a weekly training thing would look like for us in the off season.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the strength training stuff in there. I really noticed, this past off season, especially, I noticed really an increase in that from the program. Would you kind of agree? That there's a lot more lifting going on in the cross country team?
I'd say for some runners, that's certainly true. Shane's definitely someone who lifts more than the average cross country runner does. He's just a freak of nature. Like, that guy's completely on another level. But I'd say that overall we focused on doing more of that, maybe not necessarily lifting, but doing the body weight exercises, like more push-ups and more core and more glute bridges and stuff like that, just to strengthen up the key muscle areas. And I think that pretty made a difference in a big way, because that's not something we did at all last year when we ended up underachieving at state. So I definitely think that helped our team.
Yeah, I've gone through a cross country course circuit. It's a lot of fun. I would 10 out of 10 recommend it. It's just something you'll never experience before, with the cross country team, just yelling at each other, going, let's go. Okay. And then next question here is just like, what advice would you give a beginner runner? So like let's go to Clay Taylor in 5th grade, right? That's when you started?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to go to, what would you tell 5th grade Clay Taylor right now that you could, after being done? Is there something that stands out?
I'd go to 5th grade Clay Taylor and I'd say just never give up. Just keep working as hard as you can. I don't know if you knew this, but 5th grade Clay Taylor wasn't exactly a spectacular runner. I wasn't the quickest guy, and I think I even dropped out of a race one time. So I think I just go back and tell myself to never give up, no matter what happens, and keep working, because in the end, you're going to accomplish your goals, and it's all going to be worth it.
That's great advice right there. Even for anyone, just never give up. I got 2 more questions here, Clay. Here's one. Is there any coach or teammate that you want to shout out? So anyone you want to give some love to that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, I want to, first of all, Coach D, just because all of these years he's been my coach. So 8 years, that guy's been watching me run, and he had to put up with some shenanigans in my younger years, but he's always encouraged me to love the sport and to push me to be my best. Even starting in 5th grade, he could see the potential in me, and he worked as hard as he could to help me reach that potential. And now that, you know, my career's over, I have to say that I'm just so lucky to have had him as my coach. And then also, he's not my current teammate, but Nate Griepentrog, who goes to UWM, right with Drew, our guy here. But Nate has also always just been super helpful to me, giving me race strategies and helping me figure out my training. And that's been super helpful for me in my cross-country career as well.
Awesome. And what's next, Clay? Like, you want to talk about future plans? What do you plan for, you know, like college? And then do you want to talk about like college offers you've gotten for cross-country as well?
So I'm currently on the fence as to whether or not I actually want to run cross country competitively in college. I do have a pretty solid option at UW Green Bay as someone that I've talked to quite a bit about potentially running there at the next level. But if I decide that I don't want to run cross country competitively in college, there's a bunch of other schools that I've been looking into. And I definitely think that no matter what, I'm going to keep running, maybe run a marathon in the next year or so. If I don't end up running cross country, that'd be a lot of fun. But as of now, I'm pretty undecided, but I definitely think that I'll never stop running.
Yeah, Clay, you're a bright kid. I mean, the future's wide open for you. You got a lot of doors open for you. So I wouldn't just settle on one thing, and I'm glad you aren't. You got a lot of options, and just pick which one, you know, goes with the heart. And with that, let's move into a surprise round of trivia. Gotcha, Clay.
Oh boy.
Told you there'd be a surprise. 3 questions. Let's go. How many points did you guys beat runner-up Grantsburg by is the first question.
8 points.
7. 85 to, it was 78. So it was 7.
Oh, it was 78. Oh, we had 77, I think, my sophomore year. Shoot. So it was 7. Darn. Okay. I was going to say 77 to 85. So I was very, very close.
You're okay.
Huh. That's funny.
This one, multiple choice. How many seniors were in cross country this year? I got you options. You're okay.
Ooh.
A, 13. B, 16. And C, 19. This is based off of the senior quote thing, or the senior quotes on the cross country website. This is based off of all the seniors that were listed. I don't know if this was at the start, but.
So we've got boys and girls included in this,
yes.
I believe, right? Okay.
Yep.
I think it's 16.
Correct.
Okay.
B, correct. Okay. Awesome. You're 1 for 2. We're okay.
This is the big one here. Gives me a chance to go over 50%.
True or false? Mr. Bryce and Miss Broder both bought a sweatshirt.
Oh, I know Miss Broder did. I think. Oh, now I'm second guessing myself. I'm going to go with true.
It's true. Clay Taylor, 2 for 3. Woo! You bet they bought a sweatshirt. And those sweatshirts will be delivered, or they'll be here next Thursday, November 18th. So if you ordered one, we'll be delivering them. I promise. And awesome, Clay. You went 2 for 3. We'll take it.
Let's go. I can't wait to get that sweatshirt.
And yeah, sweatshirts will be delivered. It'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm really glad we got some teacher support for the sweatshirts as well. And Clay, thanks for coming on. You want to shout yourself out?
Sure. I still have the YouTube channel as the Bucks Believer. I haven't been uploading this year, but you can go check that out if you're interested. Otherwise, you can follow me on Instagram at claytay13.
Perfect. And then with that being said, let's get into the next interview. The final guest now on our cross-country episode is Hannah Welch, a freshman. So, Hannah, how you doing today?
Pretty good.
Awesome. And I'm doing well too. And now to get into it, you're a freshman here, like I mentioned. So this is different from the previous 2 people we've interviewed. We interviewed Shane and Clay, both seniors. So she's got 3 more years left of running, and she's coming off an impressive run indeed at state. She went 4th overall in D3. So she finished with a time of 19:53 is what I'm seeing here. So that's an awfully impressive race, Hannah, for a freshman, considering, I mean, everyone around you, other than, or everyone in front of you there's a sophomore and 2 seniors. So you got 3 years left now in D3, and just Well, just walk us through it. What was it like crossing the finish line for your first race at state?
I mean, that race is like unlike anything you've ever experienced. Just like it goes so fast because the adrenaline just pushes you through. It's a very tough course because it's full of hills. But the moment I passed the finish line, other than feeling absolutely dead because I gave it my all, it was just incredible. Just to know that I fulfilled my goal, and not only that, to podium and make fourth place in the top 5 was just a dream come true for me, especially as a freshman. That was just something that I hadn't expected.
Let's go into goals. Looking back at, goals you set before the season, you mentioned you had some goals. Were you able to accomplish and fulfill all your goals? Can you walk us through some of your goals?
Yeah. So, well, it's been my goal since 5th grade to even make it to state. And at first, I didn't really know if that meant as a team or individually. But over the course of my middle school years, as we realized that there were other good girls in my grade who were runners, it just started to become a dream of let's make it as a team. So that was definitely a vision that coach put in our heads, like, girls, we can do this. So it began to seem more real, especially as we trained this summer. And when the season started, we're like, holy crap, we are like dominating races. And so I guess as the season unfolded, it just like everything was put into place, and we could see that like we actually had a really good shot at making it to state. And so like as we progressed and people's time started dropping drastically, it not only became our goal to get to state, but also to do well. And I think we were all surprised at how well we did, considering our main goal originally was just to make it to state. So it was just like a great day in that aspect of accomplishing more than we had originally set to do.
Yeah, it really was a great day. You guys were runners up. You guys finished second there in the D3 level, which I know not many people predicted that at all, which that's great to prove them wrong. And it was just a great race in itself. And let's talk about like what motivated you, Hannah, while you're running this whole year, even like your past 5 years of running. Like what's been the motivation?
Honestly, my brother Josiah, he ran at state 3 times and he was so good. And like throughout my summer training, when I was training alone, and that can get hard, like he was always there to motivate me and encourage me and uplift me. And I think that was a big thing. I definitely could not have made it as far as I have without him, because there are days where I felt like giving up and just not running at all. But he was always there to like motivate me and keep me going. And so I would definitely say he's been a big part of my journey to make it to state.
And you mentioned training. Can you break down like your off-season training? What was Hannah doing to get ready for the cross-country season?
Well, especially this summer, I focused a lot on base mileage. I did incorporate some speed, but mostly just pounding the miles and doing like an average of 5 miles. And then I'd usually do like an 8 or 9 mile run on Saturdays. So a lot of base mileage at like a tempo pace, which for me was like 7:30 pace. So
Okay.
that's usually what I did.
And then while you're running all these miles, how are you passing time? You listen to music? You got a podcast in, or what are you doing?
Actually, I don't usually listen to music when I run, which kind of sounds crazy. People would think like, how do you survive running for an hour like that? But I don't know. I guess I just think, and I mean, if it's a pretty day, then I just look around, I guess.
Enjoy the scenery and use your mind. Okay. So, and then like mid-season where you guys practice, how many miles were you usually running a week?
We'd probably run about 5 miles a day. So I'd say like close to 30 miles a week, maybe.
All right. Just with like practices, and then of course with meets. Okay. And then, so now you're talking to 5th grade Hannah Welch. What advice are you giving her for running? Any advice in general?
For looking back at myself,
Yep. Anything that
honestly,
stands out?
I'd say just perseverance, because running is hard. Like, it's not an easy sport whatsoever, and it takes everything, both physically and mentally. Like, you have to put in everything into it. So there's a lot of perseverance that goes on within training and races and everything you got.
And then another thing quickly, is there a coach or teammate or someone you want to shout out, give some love to?
I'd say Coach D, just because he did so much for us. He always had stat sheets of the different girls' teams and everything, and he was always making us treats for after practice, and he was just always there to encourage us and keep us positive when we had to do speed workouts, which felt awful, but he was always just there, and he really helped us.
Yeah, and let's talk now about, because this is something we haven't been able to talk about with the previous guests. You're coming back next year, and there's this core 4 I kind of talked about, in Hannah Welch, yourself, Elizabeth Backus, Brooke Lau, and Alexis Alfson. And you 4 are all, freshmen, and then we have Avery Koth, a junior, Naomi Nelson, a sophomore, and Andy Taylor, also a sophomore. So everyone's returning from this 7 right here for Valders next year. And how much does that mean to you as a term of in team bonding and just overall just having everyone back next year?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely exciting, because you look at other teams and they have 3 or 4 seniors, and, they're coming back trying to repair, in a sense, their team. And for us, the fact that we can come back, all of us together, is just really meaningful to us, especially since the way we've bonded as a team this year, knowing that we don't have to say goodbye to half our team. We're all going to come back stronger and better and closer together. So I think that's definitely encouraging going into the next season.
So are you doing any other sports then?
I'm doing POMS for winter, and then I'll be doing track this spring.
Distance, I'm sure, in track?
Yeah.
We'll see a 3,200 maybe?
We'll see what coach puts me in, probably.
All right, awesome. And Hannah, I wish you the best for the rest of the year, and POMS and track, and then also, of course, cross country in the years to come. You got a lot of years left, and make the most of it. Trust me.
Thank you.
Awesome. So anything else you want to shout yourself out?
I think I'm good.
Awesome. So with that being said, thank you all for listening to a special edition of Jordan and Drew, the Sports Crew, the perfect podcast.